On today's bonus episode of Locked On Nets, Michael Porter Jr. and Danny Wolf nearly carry the Nets to a win over the Mavericks, but Brooklyn can't get over the hump. I'll tell you why the team may be facing a decision on MPJ soon and why Wolf is solidifying himself as a draft steal right now.
You are Locked On Nets, your daily Brooklyn Nets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in to Locked On Nets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Now the #1 sports podcast network. It's your team, the Brooklyn Nets, every single day. I'm Erik Slater, Brooklyn Nets beat reporter for ClutchPoints.com. Thank you for making me your first listen of the day. This show is 100% free on all those great platforms. And on today's bonus episode, I'm going to be recapping the Nets' 119-111 loss to the Mavericks on Friday in Dallas. And this is another game that Brooklyn very easily could have won. There were 23 lead changes in this one. The Nets looked like the better team for extended stretches, but ultimately they couldn't find the offense down the stretch, and they end up falling to Dallas there. But this is another game that Michael Porter Jr. kept the Nets in this game. That's almost a line that I can just copy and paste into every episode when I'm doing the rundown for each show. All of these games over the last 2-3 weeks, I can just copy and paste that line. Michael Porter Jr. kept the Nets in this game, or he won them this game. In this case, the Nets obviously couldn't get over the hump and they lose. But Michael Porter Jr. was the reason that they even had a chance. This was another brilliant performance from MPJ, his fourth straight 30-point performance. That's a career-long streak for him. He had 34 points on 12 of 20 from the field and 6 of 10 from three. And I think we're trending in a direction of the Nets. They're going to face a decision on Michael Porter Jr. soon, because if this is a tanking season where the goal is to get into the top 3 of those draft lottery standings, Michael Porter Jr., it's becoming very clear, abundantly clear, that he is a serious hindrance to that goal and to that process, because he's just playing too well. I mean, I don't want to keep beating a dead horse, but he's playing at an all-star level. Like, I don't know how much longer he can, how many more times I can say this, but, over the last 9 games, you look at it, he's averaging 30 points over the last 9 games, 30 points, 7 rebounds, 3.3 assists, 55, 47, 80 shooting splits. He's legitimately playing like one of the best offensive players in the league. And the only reason that the Nets are in any of these games is because he's playing at this level. Like, do they have some other guys who are playing well? Sure, but he is the focal point. He is like the nucleus of everything that they're doing offensively. And if you removed him from the equation, it's going to look way worse. And we've seen that in the recent games that he's played. I said it, leading up to this game, that over the last 5 games that the Nets have played against sub 500 teams with MPJ in the lineup, they're 5-0. The last 2 games that they played against sub 500 teams without him, they're 0-2. So it's just a complete 180 when he's in the lineup versus when he's not. And I said over the last 9 games, he's averaging 30 points on 55, 47, 80 shooting splits. The only players in the NBA averaging over 25 points on over 55% shooting from the field and 45% from 3 during that span: SGA, Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. So, we're going on a month now, over a month now, where he's been, really since Cam Thomas went out of the lineup, he's been one of the best offensive players in the NBA. And because of that, I just don't know how much longer you can keep him on the roster. I mean, if you're trying to compete with some of these other tanking teams, he's playing, as I said, like an all-star, and he's keeping the Nets in games on a nightly basis. And on nights where they play teams that are, at the Mavericks level or below the Mavericks level, like, they're going to have a real good shot to win, and they're going to come out winning a lot of these games. Like, these games against other tanking teams, when the Nets play the Wizards coming up, if they play the Hornets, if they play, obviously we just saw them play the Pelicans. Like, whenever they play these teams, if MPJ's in the lineup, they're going to be favorites, and it's going to give them a real chance to win. And that's a problem in a season where the Nets are a little bit behind the 8 ball right now in the tank race in terms of the top 3 lottery odds. And you're moving forward and you're trying to get there, because the Nets are jockeying for position in that 3 to 5 range in the draft lottery standings. And they're going to be competing with teams like the Pacers, the Hornets, the Kings. I mean, the Clippers are ahead of them right now, but you have to think that they figure it out at some point. But those other teams are real threats. I mean, you talk about the Pacers and the Hornets, like very real threats to finish ahead of the Nets. And I went on my last podcast and I talked about it. The difference between the 3rd spot in the lottery standings and that 5th spot, or even the 6th spot, God forbid, for them, it's massive. It's really huge. I mean, you look at the odds in the 3rd spot. you have a 52% chance of being in the top 4 if you get that third lottery slot. If you go to 4th, it drops to 48%. If you go to 5th, it drops to 42%, and so on. So from 3rd to 5th, in terms of being in the top 3 or the top 4, it's almost a 10% difference in the probabilities of being there. And a Michael Porter Jr., keeping him on this team versus not keeping him on this team, that could very well be the difference. And you can make an argument of, are the percentage points worth getting off a player like MPJ? That's going to be the debate moving forward. But, it's going to be a battle for the Nets in terms of the draft lottery standings, in terms of trying to get into that top 3. That's going to be the question moving forward the rest of the year. And maybe they can get there while keeping MPJ. I mean, you can make other moves. You can trade a guy like Nick Claxton. You can sit MPJ more. You can try to hold him out for an extended stretch. But if you remove him from this equation, it's a lock, in my opinion, that they're going to be able to get into the top 3. Because if they remove MPJ, the whole offense, the whole bottom of the offense is going to completely fall out. And there's another argument to be made that, hey, maybe that's bad for the development of guys like Yegor Dioman or Drake Powell or Danny Wolf or whatever other rookies you want to say, even Noah Clowney. Like, maybe that ultimately harms their development, and that's not worth those percentage points. But this is a season where draft position is the main priority. And I've said it, that 2026 pick that they have coming up, that is their number one asset. And to go another season without maximizing it, that would be a tough pill. And I'm not saying that they have to trade MPJ. As I said, there's other routes to go about it. But ultimately, it's going to come down to their evaluation of him. It's going to come down to them looking at MPJ and saying, the front office getting into a room, sitting back, looking at what MPJ has done over these first, 25 games or whatever MPJ has played, and saying, do we believe in this? Do we believe that he is a guy moving forward who can be a top, a number 2 or a number 3 option on a title team? Do we believe in him at the, $35 to $40 million that he's going to get on an extension annually? Do we believe in paying that percentage of the salary cap to him? And do we believe that that's a prudent move for us moving forward? And if the Nets do believe that, you can keep him. And I would see no issue with that, even if it does come at the expense of some lottery standings, at some lottery odds. At the end of the day, you do need to have good players on your team. And if the Nets are true believers in this MPJ thing, there are some other ways that they can try to go about it. But if they're not believers and they say, he's not a guy that we want to pay $35 to $40 million to moving forward, after this contract ends, then I think you got to look at some of the offers you're going to get. And if you can get a good first-round pick for him and you can get some expiring contracts and you can just clear your books and clear a huge chunk of cap space this coming summer and bring in another premium draft pick, I think at that point, if you don't believe in it long-term and you don't have a lot of conviction about him, you got to consider that, because that's a massive win in terms of you're turning Cam Johnson ultimately into a 2032 first-round pick, unprotected first-round pick from Denver, premium asset, another good first-round pick potentially, and you're clearing a ton of cap space and getting even more cap healthy as soon as this summer. That would be a big win. So it's going to come down to the evaluation of Michael Porter Jr. And also, it must be said that the Nets have been playing somewhat of an easy schedule over these last couple of weeks, and their schedule is about to get significantly harder. I mean, they play the Bucks on Sunday, who are without Giannis Antetokounmpo, so they definitely could win that game at home. But after that, you look at the next 6 games, they have the Heat, the Raptors, the 76ers, the Timberwolves, the Warriors, and the Rockets. So maybe MPJ comes back to earth. Maybe the Nets just start losing because they play some more tough teams. But after that 6-game stretch, they got the Wizards. So we'll see. I think ultimately it comes down to their evaluation of MPJ. And if they believe in this long-term and they believe that he can be a dude, a main guy on a title team, and they're comfortable with him, where he's at with his age, where he's at with the price point that you're going to have to owe him, then you can keep him. But if not, there's going to be some suitors. And with the way that he's playing, I think that the Nets are going to have a really good chance to get a solid deal for him and a solid return for him, which, that trade that they made with Denver, there were a lot of people who were not believers in it. And those people obviously look wrong right now. And the Nets are in a good position. This is all a positive, but how they, proceed moving forward is going to be really big for their draft pick. And it's going to be a major storyline over the next, few weeks, really, because we're getting up to that December 15th date where it's a start of trade season and a lot of speculation is going to be rolling in. So how they handle that MPJ situation, the main storyline to watch with this Nets team in the coming week. But also in this game, we had Danny Wolf, who is balling, man. He just continues to put on a show on a nightly basis, and this is another game where he played a significant role in raising the Nets floor. So what did I see from Danny Wolf? What should fans be looking for moving forward, and how am I feeling about his long-term outlook? I'll get into all that when I continue Locked On Nets after a quick break. Guys, it's 2025, almost 2026, and those days of waiting for something to become a full-blown emergency before you see a doctor, they're over. No more walking it off for 6 months. No more pretending that weird shoulder stiffness is just sleeping wrong. It's time to take your health seriously, and ZocDoc makes that easier than ever, because staying healthy is more than hitting the gym or eating right. It's about actually getting things checked out when something feels off. Using ZocDoc makes scheduling easier. Search for in-network doctors and book right in the app. Real appointment times are listed, including same-day visits. No more back-and-forth phone calls or waiting to be seen. It's super helpful for routine checkups and those little issues you've been meaning to get checked out. So stop putting off your doctor's appointments and get the care you need. Go to ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA. Again, ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA. Guys, big announcement from Locked On this week. We're rolling out something called the Everydayer Club, a subscription service that is going to give you guys access to content all across the Locked On network and also a lot of ad-free content. And you guys already live your team every day. Now it's time to take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Nets with no interruptions, member-only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. So go to the link. I'm going to post that down in the comments, also in the show notes. Hit that up if you want to subscribe and go ad-free. But continuing today's Locked On Nets episode, this bonus episode on a Friday night, Saturday morning, depending on whether you're listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube or listening on a podcast feed. But Danny Wolf, man, in this Mavericks game, I mean, the Nets fall 119-111, but Danny Wolf, he kept the Nets in this game alongside Michael Porter Jr. for extended stretches. And this is now the sixth game that Danny Wolf has played in where he's gotten extended minutes, and he continues to look the part. And he continues to look like an NBA-ready player, an impactful player. In this game, Danny had 17 points, 7 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 turnovers, but 6 of 10 from the field and 3 of 3 from 3. And Danny was hooping, man. Like, he just continues to do it against some good competition. I mean, this one, you're playing a Mavs team that obviously has had its struggles early this season, but they got guys like Cooper Flagg, like Anthony Davis, like PJ Washington, whoever else you want to say. They have quality, like, championship caliber or playoff caliber players in this rotation going up against Danny Wolf. And Danny Wolf, he did not look overwhelmed. He did not look like he was not up to the challenge, and he comes in and he continues to look confident and really on both ends of the floor. I mean, defensively, like every game, there's some ugly moments, but for the most part, he's holding up. And offensively, man, this guy just has the confidence of a veteran right now. Like his skill set, there were questions about how it was going to translate. I did an episode on it this past week with Lucas Kaplan. Go and check that out, but it's translating. And he looks confident, and he looks like he's a guy who right now is able to score at all 3 levels. I mean, you look at what he does in this one, and, the ability he has to get to his spots with ease and with comfort, and kind of, the pace that he's playing with and the level of control that he's playing with, it's all really jumping off the screen. I mean, you see like plays in this one down the stretch in the second half, getting under 10 minutes left in the game, and it's a really tight 1-possession game. Danny Wolf's making plays where he's handling the ball in the pick and roll. He's coming off screens. He's seeing Anthony Davis in drop coverage, and he's stepping back and hitting a 3. And that's just like plays like that. It's so exciting. Another play, he catches the ball on the wing. Cooper Flagg kind of overcommits going for a steal. He drives to the middle. He fakes a behind the back pass and goes to a running hook shot after it and makes it. And like, I got to laugh at some of these plays, man, not because, anything with Danny's funny. It's just like, he's a guy who's out there and he's 6'11", like he's a legitimate 7-footer, 6'11", 260 or whatever he weighs. And some of the things that he's doing, it's just ridiculous. Like hitting step back threes off, handling as a pick and roll ball handler and hitting step back threes in Anthony Davis's face because he's hanging back too far in drop coverage, driving the middle and going to a fake behind the pass and then a fake behind the back pass and then a hook shot and making it, doing stuff like that, running the floor in transition. I mean, splitting through 2 defenders and going to the rim and laying it in and scoring. Just all of these things that he's doing, man, like it just looks so smooth. Like the mobility, the ability to be a ball handler, the ability to guard multiple positions on defense a lot better than we thought he would. It all just looks like it's at an NBA level right now. And it all looks like, he's not a guy who, like, the main questions surrounding him were obviously surrounding his, physical limitations or his grounded athleticism, some of those things. And, I keep saying, like, this is another game tonight where he's playing against some really good NBA players, and it doesn't at all look like he's overmatched physically, athletically, in terms of quickness, any of that. Like, are there some moments? Sure. But for the most part, he looks like a guy on offense who's giving other people problems. Like, he's able to do so many things and able to play in so many different ways that it's giving these guys, it's just putting these defenders in a lot of difficult situations. And the possessions where Danny is handling as a point guard like he did at Michigan last season, and they're going with the 4-5 pick and roll or whatever you want to call it, the big pick and roll. Give me more of that, man. I love that stuff. Just let him handle, let him cook, let him go to work, let him explore his bag at the NBA level. And ultimately, all of this is just, it's such a major positive because Danny looks like a guy who, he looks like a keeper. And I said, the opinions on him, going into the draft and after the draft, they were kind of scattershot. They were all over the place. You had some people who were saying he was a late lottery pick. You had some people saying that he should have went where he went at the end of the first round. Ultimately, he looks like he's outplaying this draft position or this draft slot at number 27 by leaps and bounds right now. And there was one GM when the NBA did the GM survey entering the season. There was one GM who voted for Danny as the biggest steal of the draft at number 27. And am I going to say he's the biggest steal of the draft? I don't know. He's only played in 6 games. We have a long way to go, but he certainly looks like a steal, man, because getting a 6'11" guy who can handle the ball, who can do all of these things offensively, who can shoot it at a high level, be a floor spacer, post up, play pick and roll, all of these different things that he can do. You don't find guys like that very often. And if he can continue, he's not going to continue to shoot the lights out. He's shooting like close to 50% from 3. That's going to cool off in a big way. But if he's a respectable, to good 3-point shooter, which it seems like there's a very good chance that he can do, and he can guard and hold up on guys well enough defensively outside of centers, like guarding wings and forwards, if he can do those two things, his ball handling is going to add a whole nother dimension. His ball handling and his passing going to add a whole nother dimension to this Nets offense. And these early returns, I don't really think that you could have asked for much more from Danny Wolf. So all of this is a huge positive, and I'm just excited because Danny Wolf seems like a guy who is going to be a keeper, and it seems like a guy who there's no doubt, like he is a core member of this rotation moving forward. Whereas some of the rookies, the other rookies, the minutes are in question. I'm going to finish my last segment talking about that with Danny. He's playing so well right now that there's no doubt. Like Long Island, that should be over. He should be in this Nets rotation, and he should be playing on a nightly basis. And obviously, they're not going to trade him. But I just had the conversation with Michael Porter Jr. about potentially trading him. Not going to trade Danny, but Danny has been a floor raiser. And Danny has been a guy that in terms of tanking, he's hurting the tank, but that's fine because he's a rookie and you want to play these rookies. And if rookies are the ones hurting the tank, that's totally fine. But make no mistake about it, Danny has been a floor raiser in that second unit thus far through 6 games. So great stuff from Danny. And he is probably, he's one of the most exciting developments with the Nets so far during this season. But I'm going to close out Locked On Nets talking about the other rookies, Yegor Dioman, Nolan Troy, Drake Powell. What did we see from them, or what did we not see from them? Some of them getting their minutes limited in this game. I'll get into all that when I close out Locked On Nets after a quick break. Guys, new year, new systems, and this is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of running a business and think, there has to be a better way. And there is. Today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Q-U-O, the smarter way to run your business communications. If you're ready to make your workday smoother and keep customers connected without the headaches, Quo makes upgrading your setup easier than ever. A streamlined system makes such a big difference when communicating with customers. Having calls, texts, and voicemails in one clean view keeps everything organized and helps you stay responsive. And being able to share one team number makes it so much easier to make sure nothing gets missed. So make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free plus 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/LockedOnNBA. That's QUO.com/LockedOnNBA. Quo. No missed calls. No missed customers. Coming back from the break, closing out today's bonus episode of Locked On Nets after Brooklyn's 119-111 loss to the Mavericks in Dallas. And finishing this up, talking about the other Nets rookies, because we really didn't see much of anything from the Nets rookies outside of Danny Wolf in this one. And there were 3 other rookies who played: Yegor Dioman, Nolan Troy, who just got called up from the G League, and Drake Powell, who also got called up from the G League. But this was Nolan Troy hadn't played an NBA game or played extended minutes in an NBA game in over 6 weeks. So I'm going to get to him. But first, Yegor Dioman, who continues to struggle. Yegor looked pretty rough in this one. He had 3 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist to 2 turnovers, 1 of 7 shooting, only played 18 minutes in this one. And Yegor, he hasn't looked right, man, these last few games. I mean, he had a pretty rough game against Utah recently where he just looked out of it. And then Jordy said after the game that he was dealing with an upper respiratory issue. And then, Yegor's played, and I think it's been 2 games since then. He's played in them, but he hasn't really looked good in any of them. So I don't know if he's still getting over something like that. Like, if he's okay, it wouldn't be surprising to see him struggling because he's a rookie. Like, there's going to be up, there's going to be down, but he doesn't look right. I mean, we had some of those games before this stretch where he looked really confident and he looked like he was starting to turn a corner and doing some things, obviously, in addition to 3-point shooting, getting a little bit more aggressive going downhill. And we really just haven't seen that as much from him in these last few games. He just looks like he's a little bit out of it. And, Jordy spoke after the game and he said that he thought that Yegor was trying to do too much and that this isn't how they need him to play. I thought he made some plays where he was pressing a little bit and it looked like, he made some poor decisions in terms of, some of the shots that he took, also some turnovers that he had. Jordy also said that he needs Yegor to be more focused, to play with more physicality. I agree. I think it looked very tentative, especially when he was going to the basket and he was around the rim. Like, it just looks like from Yegor, there's not a lot of conviction, a lot of confidence in what he's doing offensively outside of his 3-point shot. And that has been the case, but we've seen it in spurts. Like we saw it. I go back to that Celtics game in Boston where the Nets won, and Yegor in that first half alone had 4 drives to the basket where he was really aggressive and really decisive against guys who were good defenders. Like, he took Jordan Walsh to the basket a couple of times in that game. And Jordan Walsh is a guy who's looked like a DPOY candidate, like not DPOY, all defense candidate if he played enough minutes at some point this season for the Celtics. So we've seen Yegor do it, but ultimately he just doesn't look confident right now. And it's not that surprising. Like, there's going to be ups, there's going to be down. I don't know if the respiratory thing is still an issue, but we'll see moving forward. But Jordy did give an interesting quote after. He said, and I quote, "Yegor's got to be better. Otherwise the minutes are going to go down and somebody else will take advantage of them." So that was the quote from Jordy. I'm not that surprised that he said something like that. Like, some people might see that and be like, whoa, like he's calling Yegor out. And Jordy's been very, like, he's trying to, play this part. And it's not necessarily just him playing a part. Like, I think he believes it, but he's trying to play this, everything's earned, nothing's given. Like, that's been kind of Jordy's mantra early this season, especially regarding minutes for rookies. Now, do I think that he's going to cut Yegor out of the rotation or something if he continues to struggle? No, like, I don't think that he'll cut Yegor out of the rotation. I don't think they'll send him down to the G League. I think that that's just such a bad look, and I think the fans would probably go nuts if he did that. But could he limit his minutes? Like, could Yegor be playing, 18 minutes a night, something like he did now, as opposed to like close to 24, 25 minutes per night? I could definitely see that. Do I think that Jordy should do that? No, but like, I could see him limiting the minutes. But that has been, the mantra that Jordy has said, like, earned, not given. So we'll see with Yegor. I think Yegor needs to, get a little bit more confident, needs to have a little bit more conviction in some of the things that he's trying to do, especially as a ball handler and trying to get downhill and some of that stuff. But, this early, like, we've seen ups, we've seen downs, we've seen Yegor go back up, and then we've seen him go back down. And ultimately, that's what you're expecting from a rookie like this. But I do think that he's going to need to start to show a little bit more consistency in terms of some of the things that he's trying to do process-wise offensively. And that would be nice to see from him. But moving past Yegor, Nolan came up, as I said. Nolan hadn't played extended minutes in an NBA game in over 6 weeks. I think the Rockets game early in the season in Houston, that was the last one that he played in. But he had been killing it in the G League. Like, I talked about him on one of my recent episodes. Nolan was at like 21 points and 7 assists, shooting over 50% from the field and 3 in the G League over his last 9 games. So he gets rewarded. He, earned this opportunity, but he really didn't get too much of an opportunity in this one. He only played 9 minutes, and we really didn't see him do much of anything. I mean, he didn't have a stat outside of a rebound. He had 1 rebound. He had no points, no assists, no turnovers. He was 0 of 2 shooting. His only 2 shot attempts were, he turned the corner on a screen on a pick and roll, and he got downhill and he tried to go to the basket, but he drove into trees. Like, Anthony Davis and MPJ Washington was down there. He got swatted. The Mavs went the other way and scored. That's like something that we're going to need to see with Nolan a little bit more. Is like, I've talked about it with him. Obviously, his speed, his ability to turn the corner is his major asset that he brings to the table. But you need a little bit more of an in-between game. Like, you look at a lot of his drives in the G League, and they've looked good. But it's like him turning the corner, him hitting the jets, going downhill and scoring. And on a play like that, you see him turn the corner and go downhill. But then you got some trees converging on you like Anthony Davis and PJ Washington. And that's when you need a little bit of the in-between game. You need to be able to go from fast to slow. Give yourself a minute to read the defense. Give yourself a minute to see where your kickouts are, to see where your duck-ins are. Can you do some of that stuff? And for Nolan, that's a little bit more of a struggle for him because I think he's a smaller guy right now, obviously, like slighter frame. He's the shortest of the Nets rookie ball handlers. And you can kind of see him when he gets down into that middle, it closes up and it almost looks like he's getting enveloped a little bit. So that's not too surprising. But ultimately, I'm not going to take too much from this performance because he only played 9 minutes and we barely saw him do anything. So he took a pull-up three. That was his other shot attempt in the second half. He was open, pulled up, took it. It was online. He missed it, but that was nice to see. But other than that, not too much from Nolan. And last one is Drake Powell, who played only 3 minutes in this one, which was fairly surprising to see. Drake has had some games as of late where he hasn't played too many minutes. I wasn't in Dallas for this game. Jordy wasn't asked about it after the game, but I think Drake's what he did with Long Island this week may have played a role in this because Drake played in back-to-back games with Long Island on Tuesday and Wednesday. So maybe with that, they didn't want to play him too much tonight. I don't know. It's not like he did anything necessarily too wrong. He only played less than 3 minutes. He didn't really have a chance to do anything that bad. So I think probably that back-to-back that he played with Long Island played a role in it. Because Drake is a guy who's coming off an injury. He had that left knee tendinopathy that held him out for the majority of the offseason. So maybe the Nets are being cautious with that. But it was interesting to see Drake only play 3 minutes. And you look at this, Danny got extended burn, but outside of that, Yegor plays 18 minutes. He was struggling big time, so I don't blame Jordy too much for that. Nolan only plays 9 minutes, and Drake only plays 3 minutes. For a Nets team where the net, I've spoken about this in the past, Jordy has been playing the rookies more as of late, but for a Nets team that, rookie development, that's obviously a big part of that. I don't think fans are going to like to see in this game. Danny played 27 minutes, so that was great. But as I said, Yegor 18, Nolan 9, Drake less than 3 minutes. And you have guys like Zaire Williams played 25 minutes in this one. Tyrese Martin played 15 minutes in this one. So it was primarily the Nets starters outside of Yegor, MPJ, Noah Clowney, Nick Claxton, Terrence Mann. They played the bulk of the minutes, but you are getting other guys getting a lot more minutes than these Nets rookies. And if it is because of the back-to-back for Drake, I guess I understand that because he played a lot in those games with Long Island. And that was, 2 games recently back-to-back. But seeing him play only 3 minutes in this one, a little bit of a curious decision from Jordy Fernandez. So we'll see how he handles that moving forward. And that's going to be a big topic of discussion, I'm sure, amongst the Nets fans in a season that is a tanking season and is a season that's about rookie development. But that's all I got for you guys today on this bonus episode of Locked On Nets. If you guys do not already, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Nets on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts, whether Apple Podcasts or Spotify. If you enjoy the content, take a second right now, smash that like button, leave a comment, leave a 5-star review. Anything you can do to engage is much appreciated. But the Nets are coming back to Barclays Center on Sunday to play the Bucks. So I've covered all that and more when I'm back on Monday talking more Brooklyn Nets basketball.